Have you ever felt drained and unmotivated? Is it burnout, or are you just being lazy? This question is more common than you might think, and the answer isn't always straightforward. Today, we're going to delve into the nuances of burnout and laziness, and how to distinguish between the two. Let's start with understanding what these terms really mean. Burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged or chronic stress. It's like running on empty, a feeling of being completely drained. On the flip side, laziness is a lack of motivation or unwillingness to exert effort. It's not about feeling drained, but rather about not wanting to put in the work. So how can we tell the difference between burnout and laziness? Well, there are a few key areas to look at: motivation, performance, and feelings. When it comes to motivation, people experiencing burnout typically want to be productive. They want to excel and succeed, but they feel like they're running on fumes, unable to muster the energy. In contrast, those who are being lazy often lack the desire to put in the effort. They're not interested in exerting themselves, whether physically or mentally. In terms of performance, burnout can lead to a decline. It's not that they can't do the task, but rather they're too exhausted to perform at their best. On the other hand, laziness isn't usually linked to a drop in performance. Those being lazy might maintain a consistent level of performance, albeit not their best. And finally, feelings. Burnout often leaves people feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and hopeless. It's an emotional turmoil that goes beyond simple fatigue. Laziness, however, doesn't come with the same emotional distress. Yes, they might feel unmotivated or bored, but they're not grappling with feelings of hopelessness or chronic stress. Understanding the difference between burnout and laziness is the first step towards finding a solution. By recognizing which one you're dealing with, you can begin to address the issue and work towards a healthier, more balanced life. Burnout doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that goes through different stages. And it's crucial to recognize the signs before it's too late. One of the most common symptoms of burnout is emotional exhaustion. You might feel drained, overwhelmed, and emotionally depleted. It's as if the world is sitting on your shoulders and every minor inconvenience feels like a major catastrophe. Physical exhaustion often goes hand in hand with emotional exhaustion. You might feel tired and fatigued all the time, even after a good night's sleep. It's like running a marathon without crossing the finish line. The fatigue just keeps building up. Mental exhaustion is another telltale sign of burnout. You might find it hard to concentrate, make decisions, or be productive. It's as if your brain is stuck in a fog, and no matter how hard you try, you just can't clear it. Another symptom that's commonly associated with burnout is cynicism and detachment. You might start feeling negative and uninterested in work or other activities that you once enjoyed. It's like watching a movie in a language you don't understand. Everything seems meaningless and unfulfilling. Lastly, you might experience reduced self-efficacy. You might feel incompetent and like you can't do your job well, even if you've always been good at it. As for the stages of burnout, it often starts with the honeymoon phase. This is the initial stage of excitement and optimism about a new job or task. But soon the onset of stress phase kicks in. This is when you start to experience stress, but you're still able to manage it. Then comes the chronic stress phase. This is when the stress becomes more persistent and begins to affect your work and personal life. The burnout phase follows next. This is when you reach your limit and can no longer function as you normally would. Finally, the habitual burnout phase sets in. This is when burnout becomes a part of your everyday life and can lead to serious health problems. Recognizing these signs and stages can help you intervene before burnout takes a heavy toll on your life. Feeling burned out doesn't mean you're stuck in that state forever. There are ways to overcome it. Let's delve into some solutions that can help you regain your energy, enthusiasm, and motivation. Firstly, identify the source of your stress. It might be an overwhelming workload, unrealistic deadlines, or a toxic work environment. Once you pinpoint the root cause, you can start to develop strategies to manage it. For instance, if work overload is the issue, you might want to consider delegating tasks or speaking to your manager about your concerns. Next, it's crucial to set realistic expectations for yourself. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. Break down large tasks into smaller, more manageable parts and celebrate your small victories along the way. Don't forget to take breaks when you need them. It's not about being the fastest, it's about crossing the finish line. Self-care is another important aspect of overcoming burnout. Make sure you're sleeping enough, eating nutritious meals, and exercising regularly. Your body is your temple and it needs to be taken care of. A healthy body often leads to a healthy mind. Additionally, human beings are social creatures. Connecting with others can provide emotional support and help you feel less isolated. Spend time with friends and family, join social activities, or even volunteer in your community. Sharing experiences and laughter with others can be a great stress reliever. Finally, don't hesitate to seek professional help. If you're struggling to cope with burnout on your own, therapists and counselors are there to help. They can provide you with tools and techniques to manage stress and can guide you through the process of healing. Remember, overcoming burnout is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It takes time, patience, and consistent effort. You might have some good days and some bad days, but don't lose sight of your goal. Remember, overcoming burnout takes time and patience, but with the right plan, you can regain your energy and motivation. Still unsure if you're dealing with burnout or just being lazy? It can be a tough call to make. So let's try to distinguish between the two with some reflective questions. Ask yourself, am I avoiding work because I lack interest or because I feel depleted? If it's the former, it might be laziness, but if it's the latter, you could be experiencing burnout. Consider this. Am I consistently unproductive, or am I struggling despite my desire to do well? Laziness often shows as a consistent lack of productivity. Burnout, on the other hand, is marked by struggling to keep up despite genuinely wanting to perform well. Contemplate on, do I feel indifferent or am I overwhelmed with negative emotions? A general indifference may point towards laziness, while a flood of negative emotions can be a sign of burnout. Whether it's burnout or laziness, understanding your feelings is the first step towards making positive changes in your life.